Hey, welcome to our podcast this week. Glad to have you back with us. Thank you for joining us here. I want to talk along the lines of what this podcast is about: business, money, and Christianity. We're a financial podcast from a faith perspective. And so we're wanting to navigate life better. We're wanting to navigate our businesses better. And I want to talk about a verse in the Bible and relate it into business and just the stresses of life. Now, there's a lot of people stressed out. In fact, one of the things from medical science that they say is that stress is the silent killer. And a lot of people look at stress from the standpoint of it's out of my control. Circumstances are building. It's looking like it's not going to go my way. And then we allow the pressure from it and the stress of it to get on us. And at least here in the United States, people will say things like, I'm under so much pressure. And I always respond to that by saying, get out from under it. Don't crawl under it. Don't allow it to pile up on top of you. And the Bible actually talks about how we can manage our life, or there's an element within Christianity that gives us the ability to manage these kind of things. And it's in John chapter 14, and there's a scripture, verse 27, where Jesus says, my peace I leave with you. Now, do a little bit of study on the history of Jesus back a couple thousand years ago. And his opponents, lawyers and different things, would show up and question him, trying to get him caught so they could arrest him. They tried pushing him off a cliff. They tried doing all kinds of things. But one thing we noticed about Jesus, he just kept doing what he was called to do. He just kept pushing toward his purpose. And this gives us some insight into how we can manage our lives, manage our businesses, in that Jesus said, my peace I leave with you. Not the peace that the world gives, but his peace. And the interesting thing is, in a definition of peace by natural standards, is the absence of violence or the absence of conditions that would make us get stressed or under pressure. We know that in this life, we're going to have to deal with things that we don't like to deal with. But there's a way we can deal with it where we don't have to get under the pressure of it. And there's all kinds of stories throughout history. Winston Churchill, one that I'm thinking of right now, during World War II, looking like they're going to lose against the Nazi. He just kept pushing forward. And even though he was in very intense times, he didn't allow the times to control him. He controlled the environment. So the peace that Jesus left with us is a peace that, even though it's chaotic all around us, there's something on the inside of us, especially to a believer, there's something on the inside of us that we can rely upon to know that everything is going to work out. So think in your past about times when it looked like it was going to all fall apart and you were able to come through it, you navigated it. Maybe you didn't come through it the way you wanted to come through it, but you came through it. It didn't kill you. And so this is the thing that Jesus talks about, that whether we're in our home life with our families and maybe our budgets are not working, or maybe there's contention between mom and dad, husband and wife, or there's other kind of pressures that are kind of pushing, that if we can maintain ourselves and our presence of mind and know that what God has given us as human beings to overcome, that the answers are present around us. So this element that I'm talking about gives us the ability to handle today's problems. Now, here's where it falls apart. We start thinking about the problem. There's a difference between thinking about the problem and thinking about the solution. There are problems in this life. I acknowledge that. But there's an answer to everything. I've told before in different settings about myself, because I used to be a person that was prone to feel the problem, focus on the problem. I wasn't too much of a worrier, but I was constantly dealing with it. And then I came to the recognition that there is an answer for everything that we face in life. And so I started through a proclamation, an affirmation of saying there's an answer to everything. And I started telling myself multiple times a day, David, there's an answer to everything. You can never be in a problem in this life, but there's not an answer to it. There's a way to go. The Word of God says that if you lack wisdom, ask of God, He'll give it to you. He'll not allow more to come on us than what we're able to bear. And so everything in this life that I will ever deal with, I have the ability to go through it, and there's an answer that I just need to find. And so this is what I started telling myself, what I started speaking to myself, what I started declaring to myself. How many times have you met with somebody, because we've all had areas of life, situations in life, where we maybe did not know the subject matter, or it was a subject matter we didn't like and we really had no interest in knowing. And so we say, I just don't understand this. I just don't know how to do it. We've all done that. But what we do is when we say those kind of things, we fortify the attitude that we can't understand. What I did during this time period was I told myself, David, there's an answer for everything. Just look for the answer, find the answer, and you'll have the answer to go through it. And I did this multiple times a day until I trained myself to think that anytime something came up, okay, how do I handle it? What's the answer for this? I would listen on the inside for an answer to come up, because I know the Lord can give us the answer, because He wants us to be successful. And so I started practicing this behavior, and I got to the place I really don't get stressed or pressured with situations going wrong. I can get annoyed if it's not working and what I'm trying to do, people are opposing it or something like that. I can get annoyed in situations. I'm working on that also. But I know that this, what God has created in man, has the ability to handle and be successful in every environment. So within this peace that Jesus said, I leave with you, there's power within this peace. But it's not the peace as the world knows, like absence of violence, situation that everything is just working great. It's within a situation, I can retain my ability to function and know that I will come out ahead without being in anxiety, being under pressure, or anything like that. And so what do I have to do? I have to practice this. I have to train myself to think and know that no matter what comes my way, I have the ability to possess the answer. And so if we start doing this, then we can literally keep ourselves out of stress. In order to become stressed, in order to get under pressure, we have to allow ourselves to get under pressure. What if I resist that and I don't allow situations to overtake me? We'll say, well, how do you do that when something looks like it's falling apart? Building a confidence in knowing that I'm going to know how to navigate this. I'm going to know how to press forward in this. The answers are going to come to me. And I remember when we operated a recovery home for drug and alcohol addiction. We did that for over 10 years. And so I started in around April of the year we started it, which I think it was 2010. Around April of that year, we started putting things in motion. And I had a friend that was going to help us start it. I started working with him in, I think it was around March or April of that year. We did not get it open until December, but I started doing things and people would ask me, where are you going to have this? I said, well, I'm going to get a place. Well, where are you going to get a place? How are you going to get a place? It'll work out when I need it. And sure enough, when it started coming down to around November, the person that was going to help me get it started came from another country. They got here in November. And then right around the middle of November, my mom, who is a real estate agent, called and said, David, there's this house that's been sitting on the market, and I think it would make a really good recovery home. Do you want to look at it? And I said, yes. So we went over there, and it was perfect for a recovery home. The way it's laid out, the way it was designed, everything in it was really phenomenal. And so it was on the market for about $100, and I think, if I remember correctly, $48,000 US dollars. And I did my numbers. I kind of worked out my plan. And I figured as long as I could buy it for no more than $115,000, I can make this thing work. if our recovery home didn't, make it as a business, I could always sell it, get my money back. And I felt very safe about that. And so, but I didn't move forward on buying it. And so then at the, one of the reasons was because it had been sitting empty and it was a business that owned it. I knew as we got up to the end of the year, they would want to get it off their books. And so I wanted to wait closer into December. So my mom calls me back up and asked me if I had made a decision on it. I said, yes, I think I want to buy it. And she said, okay, so for $115,000. And I said, no. I said, I can make it work at $115,000, but I think I can get it cheaper. I said, write up an offer for $75,000. And she's like, David, they're not going to accept that. I said, write up an offer for $75,000. Guess what I got it at? $75,000. They were willing. They liked what our plan was, what we were going to do. I made an agreement to close before the end of December, which means they could close out their taxes and everything and get it off their books. And it all worked out. But I wasn't under the pressure of what if I can't get this? What if I don't get it at my price? I stayed in peace about it. And I followed a logical path, relying on what was inside of me. I still own that property today. When I say I, it's their corporation. It's not my personal property, but we still own that property today, and it's probably worth somewhere around $300,000, and we're still utilizing it today for various purposes, even though we're no longer in the recovery business for some other reasons. And so, anyway, with this piece, you can stay out of stress. There's nothing in this life that has greater control over us than what we have inside of us. But you have to train yourself to think this way. When your budget at home or in your business is getting tight, sit and look at it. If you'll slow down and you'll look on the inside and you'll watch it and just kind of think through process, it's amazing how answers come to us. And we don't have to be under pressure. We don't have to be in stress. We can just retain confidence that everything is going to work out. Well, hey, I want to thank you again for stopping by at our podcast here of Business, Money, and Christianity, a financial podcast from a faith perspective. Hope I said something to help get you out of stress, anxiety, or anything else you might be going through. Hey, remember to like our thing, subscribe, make a comment, do whatever platform you're on and whatever capabilities. We appreciate the feedback for the algorithms to find us. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. You stay strong and take care. Bye.